Hi guys, this is Mrs. Garcia and this is a tutorial on your first notebook check for United States history. This is for periods 1 and 3. Your first notebook check is due this Thursday, August 31st. It is also your first test for Chapter 1. If you have not purchased a notebook, hopefully you will do so by Thursday. Your notebook, some of the items have changed since I last spoke to you in class, so this tutorial will help you in putting things together. If I go too fast, please make sure that you pause and then press play. Initially, I had stated that your notebook would be divided into 3 sections: warm-ups, vocabulary, and notes, but I've decided to change it up a bit. Your notebook will only have 2 sections. The third section will be extra sheets of paper because we have a lot of notes to take, so it will also encompass your vocabulary notes. So pretty much what you're going to have is warm-ups in the front, and then the second section will have vocabulary / notes. So we'll have a couple notes on vocabulary, then I'll go straight to notes, and then every Monday you have your vocabulary again, and then back to notes. So let's start with your warm-ups first. Just to review how to do your warm-ups, what I'd like for you guys to have is the date first, then the question, then the answer. And then if you have extra space on the warm-ups page for a specific day, please continue the next day's warm-ups. At this point in United States history, you'll have about 3 to 4 warm-ups. I will post the warm-ups on the website so that you can check to see that you've done all the warm-ups if you've been absent. So moving on from your warm-up section, we go into your middle section of the notebook, and this should be for vocabulary and notes as I had specified earlier. On this particular section, what you should have as of now will begin with your vocabulary. So the vocabulary that I gave you on August 20th should show up as your first page. I gave you a list of vocabulary terms on a 1/4 sheet of paper, so you should have this. If you do not have it, please make sure to ask me for it, or please go online onto the website to check for the words. This should follow a specific structure which was outlined in your social studies routines, which I gave to you on the first couple days of school. If you do not have that, please ask me for it, but just to be brief on that very quickly, you should have on the left-hand side your vocabulary term, the definition underneath it, and then on the right-hand side it should have a sentence that contains the term, underline the term, and also a picture. The next section following your vocabulary should include the world before the 1600s. This was a worksheet given to you in class. This was done in groups of 4, and you were to all take notes on a specific section that I assigned to you. Then you needed to share your notes with your partners, and everyone took notes from one another. If you were not in class, you need to take your own set of notes. This is coming straight from the textbook. So what you'll do is you'll need to look up Chapter 1, Section 1, and each of the subgroups that are mentioned on the worksheet, and just take your own set of notes. On the backhand side of this worksheet, there was a section on the Spaniards versus the British, and again this was taken from Chapter 1, Section 1. I did direct instruction on this, so I gave you the answers to this, or we conversed about the differences between the Spaniards and the English. So if you didn't get it, please look in the textbook to answer the questions. Lastly, in putting this in your notebook is going to be kind of like a scrapbook. Because there's a front and back page, you can't glue it completely onto the notebook because I won't be able to see one page from the other, so make sure that you staple it at the top. The next section, page number 3, which follows the notes from the 1600s, would include the notes on the Pilgrims, the Puritans. It was a case study that we did in class. I showed you a PowerPoint on this information and you took Cornell notes on it. I also spoke about the Reformation. If you were not in class, please make sure that you get this from a friend. I will also post the PowerPoint online, but please note that sometimes the information on my PowerPoints is not concrete, so you do really have to get it from a neighbor or a friend. These notes were taken on August 21st. The next section that I would like in your notebook is our continuation of our study of the Puritans, or aka the Pilgrims. So I had you guys draw 4 squares in your notebook. I believe I might have had you draw these in your 3rd section. So please tear it out of the 3rd section, make sure that it's neat, and then staple it to the middle section, the next page following your Cornell notes. So on this section, you each took a primary document, analyzed it, then you shared it in groups. If you did not get all the notes, please make sure that you ask me for the other primary documents, or you get the information from a neighbor. There was also a reflection, and you had to make believe that you were a pilgrim and describe your lifestyle based off of the evidence that was provided to you. Now, if you still have the primary source document worksheet that I gave you to analyze, to highlight, please add that to your notebook. Please staple it to the top of the 4 squares. So if I were to flip over that worksheet, I should see the 4 squares underneath. Now, say you do not have this worksheet, you've lost it for some reason or another, don't worry, as long as I have the notes. The notes are the most important part that I will be grading. Following the Puritan analysis, the 4 squares that you took notes on, you should continue with your colonial times notes that we took in class. This is chapter 1, section 2, the student-led notes. So this is where we presented in pairs and your classmates were taking notes while answering questions from the presenters. These are in the form of Cornell notes, and then there should be a summary at the bottom. If you're completely lost and weren't in class, what you'll need to do is look in the textbook, find each subtitle that is in boldface print. You'll write that on the left, and then you'll take notes on the right hand side. Being that I'm recording this ahead of time, I won't know exactly what I will be teaching you in the future, and sometimes my lesson plans change from one year to the next. So I'm just going to assume that we'll be doing 2 more activities that will go into your notebook. This Monday we will be doing vocabulary, and every Monday, remember, you need to bring your textbook. So we'll be doing vocabulary, the last section of chapter 1, and also we have one more section left, chapter 1, section 3, which goes over the discontent against the King of England. And so that will be in the form of a handout. I know chapter 1, section 3 has already been started by my first period, but third period has not gone over it. So be advised, these notes will also need to be included in your notebook.